Hello and welcome back. In this edition of BlogWorks University, we're going to discuss search engine optimized domain names, aka choosing a domain name that works best for your business.
Simple when we're talking about branding and marketing your business. So this could be some of the branding and marketing. One of the cool things you want to do is when you're choosing a name, and we're going to get into some of the root stuff and what are domains and subdomains and root domains and things like that, a little bit of the technical stuff. But to keep it really simple, the first thing that you want to do when you're thinking about choosing a domain for your business is, what does your business do? What is the primary function of your business? In other words, are you an ice cream shop? Are you a plumbing organization? Are you a roofing contractor? Are you a dentist? So when you're choosing your domain so that people recognize what you're doing, and I'll give you an example going way back in time. When Amazon.com first launched Amazon.com, it didn't relate to anything. Now their idea was, because the Amazon was so huge, they were going to have the world's largest bookstore. So they had to come up with a motto that would tell people exactly what Amazon.com was. Because when Amazon.com launched, believe it or not, the internet was still relatively new. People were still trying to figure it out. People didn't know what a domain was. At that time, I don't think you could get a domain over 9 characters long. So there weren't very many choices or very many things to choose from when it comes to choosing a domain. Nowadays, you can get domains just about as long as you want to, and we're going to discuss training here in the BlogWorks training. So let's get down to it. Choosing the right domain, choosing your brand. Get out a pen and paper so you can take some notes here. We're going to run through this really quickly, and of course, you can always come back and read the blog post to get into the nitty-gritties. We're going to talk about some things that you want to avoid in terms of spam. We're going to talk about choosing keywords for your domain, or not maybe choosing keywords. It's all about branding yourself. What do you want yourself? What do you want people to see when they're looking for you? If you're doing an advertisement on the radio, is your name easy to pronounce? I'll give you an example. There's a local Ford dealer here in the St. Louis area. Their name is Sunset Ford. Now, both of those words put together are relatively easy. Now, several years ago, the domain Sunset Ford was actually purchased and owned by a Ford company out in Arizona somewhere or something, and the local Ford dealer had to do sunset-ford.com. So all of their commercials were, had sunset-ford.com in them. Now, which was a good name, because the owners of the business, their names are Hoytel. I'm just going to say you can guess at how to spell Hoytel. Imagine HoytelFord.com. They would have had to spell it in every single instance, on every single commercial, every place they had to go. Coming back into the future, recently the local Ford dealer just purchased sunsetford.com, so they actually own that domain now, which is probably a blessing to them. But on all their signage, on all of their trucks, you'll still see sunset-ford.com. We'll talk about putting hyphens in your business and some things you want to avoid when putting your domains together. So domain names are the human readable internet addresses for websites. They're root domains, which are identified by their domain names, have extensions such as .coms, .orgs, .net, etc., which would be an example of www.example.com. Subdomains are lower level component of the root domain and precede the domain name. In other words, subdomain.com. So a subdomain would be www would be a subdomain, or some other name, like for example shop.yellowpagesocial.com or domains.yellowpagesocial.com are some examples of some subdomains. Word separators, things that you absolutely definitely want to avoid when it comes to choosing a domain. Avoid hyphens. Hyphens detract from the credibility and can act as a spam separator, just like I used the example in sunset-ford.com. Sometimes they indicate spam with all the new spam stuff going on. There's a lot of ways that black hat people on the backside try to trick search engines into doing search engine optimized results, and coming back in search engine marketing. Top level domains like .com are extensions associated with domain names. For the best results, avoid uncommon top-level domains, what they call TLDs, like hyphens. TLDs such as .info, .cc, .ws, and .name are spam indicators. So where you see these domains when somebody's using those. For example, I did a split test a little while back where we did attorneysandlawyers.com, attorneysandlawyers.net, and attorneysandlawyers.info. We used some similar posts, we used some similar keywords, and every single instance the .info never did appear anywhere. It just didn't come up because the search engines were saying, oh, that must be something going on, it's not a good spam. So if there's any way at all to avoid, when you're purchasing your domains, to avoid those. So try to get a .biz, get a .us are great if you're a United States, a US based company. Get a .us domain. They're usually very affordable. They do very, very well. Again, when you're promoting these domains out there on the radio, you've got to emphasize those. And of course, you always want to come back, if you can at all possible, get a .com for your business. The name of your business .com. We'll talk about the name of your business again. Remember, just because you grew up knowing how to spell your family name, it doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of the world knows how to spell your family name. Now, if your name is Jones or Smith or something like that, like you used in there, but some names are just not common names. They're not easy to spell, so just really think about it when you're choosing your domain. Even branding your business, when you're choosing the name for your business, just because you love your name doesn't necessarily mean everyone else does. So maybe instead of choosing your personal name as your business name, choose what you do. Like if you're a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer, but in terms of branding your business, branding your name, and choosing a domain name, we'll get into subdomains and those in the next video. Domains or root domains, for an example. A root domain is a top-level hierarchy of a domain. Root domains are purchased from registrars. For example, you can actually purchase a root domain from Yellow Pages Social. You can simply go to domains.yellowpagesocial.com and purchase domains. So you can choose a .org, a .com, or something like that. Now, .orgs are generally used for nonprofit organizations, churches and things like that. So if you're a nonprofit, you can do a .org domain. So be very, very careful of those. If you're a business, a commercial business, a .com, you can use something like a .com or a .biz or a .us. Avoid, again, .orgs if you're a profit type kind of business. Subdomains are a third-level domain that is part of a larger top-level domain. For example, blog.example.com and english.example.com are both subdomains of example.com, the root domain. Subdomains are free to create under any root domain that are webmaster controls. Now, depending on where you get your domain, if you purchase your domain through Yellow Pages Social, of course you can create subdomains, as many of those as you want. You can point them at different areas. For example, here's a real good domain. It's called ilovethiscent.com. And you'll notice here some of the subdomains are warmers, Scentsy warmers. At the point to different areas and different pages, you can use those subdomains and redirects, and we'll talk about that in an upcoming video, how to do URL redirects, how to set up name servers, how to change your DNS in future videos. So stand by, they're coming very, very soon here. The two most common subdomain choices are www, which is a subdomain. You see those all over. And then, of course, there's an example with no subdomain. And either way, those. So you can go to yellowpagesocial.com. The website will come up. Or you can go to www.yellowpagesocial.com and the page will come up. Another way that you can do, say, for example, if you have a blog and you purchase one of our blogs from us, you can set those up, and you can actually have a cPanel where then you would go in and set up domains, because we would change the name servers for you and set those up. So you'd actually have your own hosted cPanel where you can set up your email accounts, set up as many subdomains as you want to direct to that, and you'd have control over those in a separate, what we call cPanel. And again, we'll talk about that in an upcoming video. SEO's best practices when it comes down to search engine optimization. To maximize search engine optimized referred traffic, it is important to keep each of the following elements in mind. How easy is it to remember the domain name? Yellow Pages Social, very, very easy words there. When you're talking about marketing, thinking about the name, how easy is it going to be when somebody listens to your commercial on the radio, or sees your commercial on the television, or sees a billboard, or you hand them a business card, or they hear somebody repeat it, or you type it into one of your social platforms like Facebook or Twitter or something like that? How easy is it to type that word in? How easy is it for people to spell the word? How easy is it for people to remember what the word is when you're talking about word-of-mouth advertising, which just forces people to type domains in they may not be familiar with in the web browser? So just be very, very, you might even want to just do some surveys to find out what people think about different names that you're using, and do some online surveys either on Facebook or Twitter, things like that. And of course, we're going to do some videos on that as well. Ideally, webmasters should strike a balance between finding a catchy, unique, brand-friendly domain name and having a domain name that contains keywords that they're trying to target. The benefit of a keyword-rich domain is twofold. First, the domain name itself is a ranking factor that search engines consider when calculating ranking. Now, you've got to be very, very careful with these in terms of using keyword-relevant search engine words. Make sure that your domain portrays your brand, not necessarily a keyword. So if your brand encompasses a whole bunch of different products, you've got to be very, very careful. In other words, there's a company up in Idaho called Scentsy. Now they sell wax fragrances. So they could, some of their keywords might be Scentsy warmer, Scentsy wax, fragrances, room sprays, and things like that would be some of their subdomains or some of their keywords. In terms of when you're thinking about choosing domain names, think about the keywords you're going to go into your business, write those down, do some surveys, use Google Analytics or use Google Keywords to do some keyword research to help you choose the right domains. The next thing I want to go over is hyphens. If your domain name is 2 words, and I talked about this before, sunset-forward, you might want to separate the words with a hyphen for readability. Example, example-site.com. That said, use of hyphens also correlates highly with spammy behavior, and more than one hyphen should not be used in a domain name. For this reason, it is generally better to stick to domain names containing only 1 or 2 words. Non.com top-level domains. When a webmaster registers a domain, or when you register a domain, there will be a given option to buy additional what they call TLDs, or top-level domains. In order to maximize the direct traffic to a domain, it is advised that you should only buy the domain if it's a .com version, if it's available. Additionally, it is not recommended that SEO-conscious webmasters purchase low-quality domains such as .biz, .info, .ws, .name, and etc. as it's a means of increasing traffic. So what I would do is maybe a .us, and like I said before, a .org if you're an organization, a nonprofit organization. Subdomains and subfolders. Since search engines keep different matrices for domains than they do for subdomains, it is recommended that webmasters place, or you place, link-worthy content like blogs and subfolders rather than domains. Example, example.com/blog would be a folder. So when you're out there writing a blog, when you create the title for that blog post or the title for that page, if you're looking at creating a web page, and I'm going to put a big recommendation up here. We recommend blogs, and we'll get into the reason why we do that. We recommend using a blog as a website versus an actual static website, and we'll get into that more down the road when we're talking about choosing a blog versus a website, or if you've already have a website, maybe adding that into that. Buying and redirecting domains, buying web pages for their links. In other words, a lot of people will go out and they sell their actual web pages because they have a lot of SEO content. That's a real cool tactic that you can use. We won't get into that. That's some more of the advanced webmaster stuff. Domain registration length, 15 characters. If it's all possible, try to keep the length of your domain down to about 15 characters. The notion that domain registration length matters as an SEO factor is a myth. When asked about domain registration length, Google's Matt Cutts said to the best of his knowledge, no search engine has ever confirmed that they use the length of registration as a factor in scoring. The company is asserting that as a fact that would be troubling. So if you hear this from somebody saying, hey, you got to get a longer domain, or you get more keywords, branding. Remember, your domain name should revolve around your brand, your philosophy, your beliefs, something you believe in that you want to convey out to the public so people are attracted to you. Brand yourself across all your properties so that everything has the same name. So your Facebook page, your Twitter page, your Google Plus account, and all of those all have the same name as your blog. We'll talk about some really cool solutions for making sure all your titles match, and really cool stuff that you can do sitting right behind your computer when you're doing your blog posts, you're doing your videos, and you're doing some things like that that will really help you optimize your brand and push you across multiple platforms. And this concludes this edition of BlogWorks. We'll see you on the next video.